Hey guys, it's Emma Vigling with TYT Politics. I'm here with Colin Allred. You are a civil rights attorney. Well, I just spoke with a candidate who's a civil rights attorney, so it's a theme. You're running in Texas's 32nd district, so that district is held by Pete Sessions, Representative Pete Sessions, who has a pretty reprehensible track record of offending almost every race and creed of American. Can you talk about that past? I don't want to make it all about your opponent, but he is someone who's voted with Trump around over 97% of the time, a deeply
Yeah.
unpopular president. And, you know, Sessions' positions are rooted in deep racism. So I just wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, I have a lot of problems with Pete Sessions' policies. Like I can kind of go down the list, and almost everything that he stands for, I'm against, right? But my biggest problem with Pete has been that he doesn't care about the people of this area. He doesn't come back here and hold town halls. He doesn't do the constituent work for people who need it here. He's on autopilot. He's been in office so long, I think he thinks that he's unbeatable, and he no longer does the hard work of staying in touch with this district. And around here, know it. Every one of my events, somebody will come up to me and say something to me about how they don't think he lives here in this district. And whether or not that's true or not, I know what's true is that they feel like they don't have a member of Congress who cares about them. And that's the number one thing that bothers me as somebody who was born and raised here in this district, is I know we have a lot of needs and we need to have somebody who will be an advocate. As a civil rights attorney, I am offended by a lot of the things that he's done. I'm offended about the way he talks about immigration, for example. He uses some of the most dehumanizing terms that we have out there. And I think that we need to have somebody not only who will look after the people of this area, but who will be an advocate and a voice for equality and for treating people the same across this country. And I think that's where we have to get to.
Treating people the same across this country, he hasn't done that, in the sense that he was one of the most vocal advocates in the House for not giving New Jersey and New York Hurricane Sandy relief money, yet was begging for it when it affected the home state. So maybe his constituents would vote him out of office. Oh my gosh. Can you talk about that hypocrisy? Because even though you are representing your specific district, it seems like your ideals, your for Medicare for all, are about helping the entire country, not just catering to your specific district.
Yeah, I mean, Pete he is a hypocrite. He's a hypocrite on the issue of aid to areas. Certainly, he's a hypocrite on a number of other issues. He's also bought and paid for, and I have to say that he is somebody who's received some of the largest donations from the NRA. A lot of the other major industries out there have their hooks into him, and I know that he doesn't care about the people of this area the way that I do. You mentioned Medicare for all. We have a healthcare crisis here in North Texas, and it's also a crisis nationally. But 1 in 5 people in Dallas County don't have health insurance. I mean, that's a huge problem for us. 1 in 6 people in Texas don't have health insurance. That's the highest rate in the nation. We have to get to universal coverage, and that's why I've come out for Medicare for all, and that's why I believe that we have to provide everyone with good access to health insurance. And I think that the country needs that. It's just weighing us down. And there are a number of other issues. But I know that the issues we face here in North Texas aren't that different from what's being faced across the country. It's all about opportunity. Like, how are we going to give people a chance? Like, if you work hard and if you do the right things in this country, you should be able to chase your version of the American dream. And right now, that's not the case, whether it's the skyrocketing cost of higher education, or whether it's the minimum wage and just wage growth in general not going up. We have to do a lot more to give our people a chance, because right now, if you're born into poverty, your chance of climbing out of that is very low. And I'm somebody who was born into that. I was born to a single mother who didn't have a ton of money, but I was able to go play in the NFL, become a civil rights attorney, do a lot of things because I had some help along the way. And we got to make sure that we get back to doing that.
Yeah, if our viewers don't know, Colin played, I think, 5 years for the Tennessee Titans. Based on the reaction to my tweets, our viewers don't really follow football because I like to live tweet on Sunday about my thoughts. But anyway, so I am curious really how you got involved in politics. I'll get back to healthcare in a second, but just kind of curious how someone from the NFL goes to working for HUD, and how you got to run for a seat.
Yeah. Well, I kind of see politics as an extension of my civil rights work. I tried to make sure the law was applied fairly to everybody, that everybody was treated equally under the law. Now I just want to make sure the law is fair when it's written, right? Because I've seen that we could struggle for years with litigation trying to get the right thing done. Like in voting rights, which is one of the things I've spent a lot of my time doing in voting rights. We're still fighting out cases right now here in Texas for the redistricting cycle that began in 2010. I mean, we're going to be 8 years into this, and we're still fighting the litigation. And
Well,
so,
Texas, I think, is the number. If you look state by state, it's perhaps the most gerrymandered state in the country.
right, right, it is, and we're facing that, and we're fighting that. But some of these things, it takes a long time to fight on the back end as a civil rights attorney. We have to start passing things that are fair from the beginning, so that we can give our people a chance. And I come back to opportunity because for me, that's really is what it's all about. I know that I've kind of had my chance of living the American dream here. I want to make sure that everybody else has that chance too. That's what motivates me. That's what gets me up in the morning. And that's why I got into going from my civil rights work into running for Congress.
So when we were talking about donors, I guess, in reference to Representative Sessions, the top industry donor in his career is health professionals. That's very vague, but given his position on the Affordable Care Act, I think we know what kind of health professionals and what their agenda is and who they're donating to him, why they're donating to him. It's been almost $2 million in his career from health professionals. So you stand for Medicare for all. That is obviously not a position that many people hold if they get a lot of money from pharmaceutical companies, et cetera. You're running as a Justice Democrat, so you want to be able to hold these positions without being influenced by corporate money, I assume. So can you talk a little bit about your position or your decision to run as a Justice Democrat and to not take corporate money, even though a lot of Democratic pollsters and consultants would say that you're starting off on the wrong foot. You're not going to make any headway.
Yeah, well, I understand the corrupting influence of the money in our politics. Like, I think if we all sat down and talked about what's the right thing to do for our people, we could actually get to the same answer pretty quickly, even with Republicans. The issue we have in so many cases is big money, big industry stepping in and intervening and stopping elected officials from doing what I think they know is the right thing to do. Medicare for all is a system that I believe in because I've looked at the other options for providing health care to all of our people here in North Texas and here in my district. And I don't think that we can cover everyone through any other mechanism. And to me, it's also something where we already have universal health care in this country. We just do it in a dumb way. We pay for it at the emergency room. Here in North Texas, a lot of my people that I know, their options are either going to the emergency room and getting care, or if they're a kid, maybe going to the school nurse, or hoping that somebody will give them some charity. And we're all paying for that anyway through our property taxes at the emergency room level. And so I think we should just invest in this and do it from the beginning and allow people to get the care they need along the way so that we're not seeing them at the worst point of their illness. And if anybody thinks that money or anything like that will influence me from changing my mind on that, then they don't know me very well, because I'm not in this for that. I'm in this for the people of this area.
You also touched on college education and the fact that we want to give everyone an equal opportunity, yet it still costs a lot of money for people to go to state universities. Texas has a variety of great state universities that people could go to if we kind of subsidized it. Do you support a sort of free college plan? Because that's gaining a lot of traction, even though the elites say it's impossible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's funny, when I was in law school, I talked to a lot of my professors about what they did when they were in law school to pay their way through law school. And most of them said, oh, well, I flipped burgers, or, I worked at a local gym or something like that, because their tuition was so low that they were able to do that.
Right.
And that's unimaginable right now. And listen, we have a student loan crisis in this country. $1.3 trillion is what we have tied up in student loans. So even if people don't have a student loan themselves, it's affecting them because it's holding down our economy. And we're pricing out people from going to college. I went to public schools here in Dallas. I didn't grow up with a lot of money. I was fortunate that I had a football scholarship to go to college. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to afford it. I had a lot of classmates who had a lot of talent, who had the grades and who had the drive, but who couldn't go to college because of the price of it. And we are losing potential as a country when we're not allowing those kids to become whatever they could have become. We need them, and they need us. We're all in this together. That's the way I see it. And I think we have to make sure that we are making college accessible to everyone, making higher education accessible to everyone. To compete in this global economy that we're in, we need skills, and to get those skills, we got to be able to go to school. And so it's in all of our interest. And,
I'm curious about your position on this, because as someone who obviously played college ball, that it's such an exploitative system, and it kind of is a microcosm of big schools down there. They can never pay the players and make millions and millions of dollars that only go towards helping out that football program instead of maybe creating some scholarships. There's, especially in southern public schools where you are, there's so much money that could be going towards just making college education free for residents in Texas if they get in.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to pick on any particular school, but there is a school here in Texas that just hired a coach for $75 million. That's a lot of money, and we can send a lot of kids to school for that. And I think we have to make sure we have our priorities in the right place here. And if you want to talk about the cost of things, the Republicans just passed a $1.5 trillion tax break for the rich and for corporations that is going to make a huge hole in our deficit. So it's obviously not about the money. It's about priorities. And we have to put our priorities in the right place. And the priorities, I think, should be based on opportunity, should be based on the American dream, making sure that, listen, if you want to go to college, that the cost of it isn't the barrier for you. The barrier should be, okay, are you willing to put in the work? Are you willing to be committed to it? But the cost shouldn't be the barrier. And right now it is for lots and lots of Americans. And I don't know if everyone out there really understands how much the cost of college education has gone up, because I know a lot of older folks who I talk to around here in this district who don't really understand just how expensive it has gotten. It's out of control. The cost is entirely out of control. And we have to, as a country, step in and change this, or we're going to lose a generation of higher education that we really need to have.
Yeah, I mean, and then they say that millennials are wasting their money on avocado toast, and that's why they're not buying homes. No, it's because they're crippled with
the
debt.
Student loan debt.
Yeah.
It's $1.3 trillion that's tied up. It's the second highest source of debt in this country is student loan debt. I mean, it's unbelievable the size of this problem, and it's going to require a national reaction. We all have an interest in this. Even if you're not a student, even if you don't have any kids in school right now, it is affecting you too, because it's holding down our economy.
Agreed. Last question. Texas is known as the energy state. The second largest donor to Representative Sessions is oil and gas. So that brings me to my next question. Where do you stand on combating climate change and perhaps transforming the Texas economy in order to do something that may be hard for those industries but will pay dividends for generations to come? Absolutely.
I mean, climate change is an existential threat. There are very few things out there that scare me more than what's going on with our climate right now. I am, in fact, sometimes I almost can't look because it's so upsetting what's going on and how we're not reacting to what the scientists are all telling us. If you went to 100 doctors and they all told you that you had cancer, then you would make sure that you got some cancer treatment. Well, right now, all of our climate scientists, with a very few minor exceptions, agree that we are in a climate crisis and that we have to do something and self-correct immediately. And we need to be doing that. One thing I'll say about Texas being an energy state is that we are also in a great position to lead the green energy revolution, because we already have a lot of the infrastructure in place to do this. In fact, Texas, I think it's the highest percentage of our energy from wind energy right now. And that's just the market has demanded that. That's without us really investing in it and making it easier to do that. We got to bring down the cost of solar. If you know anything about Texas, we have a lot of sun, we got a lot of wind. Okay, so we can actually use that to our advantage. And we have some of the infrastructure in place to make sure that we can lead the next green energy wave. We don't want that to be done in China or in France, which is inviting our scientists to go over there and get it done. We want them to start those businesses here, because we started the energy wave here in Texas with the oil boom at the turn of the century. We can do that with green energy too. And I think it's a great business opportunity too. If you want to talk about business, this is a great opportunity to be the worldwide leaders of the next wave of energy, and one that won't destroy the planet, and one that will be sustainable going forward for as long as we're around, right?
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Colin. It was great talking to you. And where can people learn more about your campaign?
Well, thank you so much, Emma. I really appreciate it. They can go to my website. It's colinallred.com. It's COLINALLRED.com. That's all red, like all blue. Or they can follow me on Twitter, Colin Allred TX, or on Facebook, Colin Allred TX. And we need your help. We're running a grassroots campaign. This is something that's been driven by low-dollar donors. We have a ton of volunteers. And I think we have a great chance of getting a lot of people involved and really surprising some people here in 2018, as long as we can get some help from folks like y'all. So thank you so much for the time. Thank you for giving me a chance to talk to everybody.
Thank you so much, Colin. Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Thanks.